In the previous parts of Lesson 11, we took a look at our spherical and partial spherical Pave commands, and also our Morph with point command. In this part of the lesson, we will incorporate some of these commands within a design. We will be creating a cage pendant with a paved sphere inside of it. So let's get started. Create a new file, part/assembly, use the generic template. We'll name our part. Now the first thing we'll do is create an ellipsoid that we'll be using as the base shape for our cage pendant. So come into our shape ribbon tab, our basic shapes, use the ellipsoid. We'll place it at the center. Okay, I'm going to middle click through the next operations, the next fields, because I'm going to come in and dimension them manually. Okay, the X and Y I'll leave at 10. I'm going to increase the Z length to 15 millimeters. So here is our ellipsoid. Okay, next up I want to accentuate the top region of my ellipsoid to give it more of an egg shape, and to do this I'll use my Morph with point command. Okay, we're going to be using our first morph method, translate along a direction. Our geometry will pick our shape. We're going to pick it as a face. We're going to pick the face, not the shape. So with our entity filter set to face, pick the face. The point, let's this time set our entity filter to all. We're going to let our point snap to the top point of our ellipsoid. You'll feel it snapping like that. Okay, the direction by default is normal to the face at the point we have picked. Okay, so that will be the z-axis, and this is what we want. Here we can now increase our distance and watch the merge, the morph take place. Okay, so we're increasing our distance here. I'm going to reduce my influence so it's more of a localized morph, like this. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I'll confirm the operation. And here is our shape. Okay, we will now insert a sketch on the front datum plane. Okay, I can't see it, so I'll pick it from the history. Okay, use centroid defined by plane. Okay, confirm the operation. Now in the sketch we'll be creating a curve that will be sweeping along. Okay, and this curve will define the bars of our cage pendant. Okay, first of all I'm going to right click reference. I'll use my second reference type, our face intersection, and I'll select our ellipsoid. Okay, now I can show target. Now I will create our curve. Okay, we can always modify this curve at a later stage if we don't like the look of it, so we needn't get it perfect straight off, but I know the general sort of shape that I would like. Okay, we can display curvature to see the curvature of our 3-point curve. Okay, now we can make modifications where we see fit. Okay, the curvature plot, we want to see smooth transitions. You can always use a fairing to improve the curvature of our curve. Okay, I'm just going to go with this for now. Confirm the operation. Exit back out into our part level. Okay, our sketch is inside there. We're now going to project that sketch onto the face of our ellipsoid. Come into the wireframe tab, project a face, it's in this tab here, project a face. We'll pick the sketch. the face. It's the face of our ellipsoid. Now the projection, you can see, is not looking right. This is because our projection currently is along the X. We want it along the Y axis, so we'll define the direction along the Y. Again, here is our projection onto our face. That looks pretty decent. We'll confirm the operation. Okay, now we'll be trimming the top and the bottom of our ellipsoid and keeping those parts to form the caps of our cage, and we'll trim out the rest of the material. So we're going to insert a datum on the top point here. We'll let it snap in. Let's first of all change our orientation. We want XY plane, the top datum plane, offset, right click, 2 point. Here let it snap to the top point. Left click, confirm. Okay, now we will place a circle on this datum plane that we just created. Circle. Let's use our first defining method, the radius. Let's align it to our datum plane. The center, let it snap to the center of our datum plane. Okay, we'll drop our radius down. Let's say 1.25 for a total diameter of 2.5. Okay, now we're going to project this circle through our ellipsoid to produce curves on our ellipsoid that we can trim to create our top and bottom caps. So project to face, pick the circle, our curve, pick the face, okay, our ellipsoid. Now we want to specify direction, the negative Z direction. Okay, now we have our top projection and our projection at the bottom. Confirm the operation. Okay, we can erase this datum plane now. And now we'll come into our freeform tab, use our trim to curves command, pick the face and the curves. We're going to pick our 2 projected circles. Now we need to specify faces to keep. We need to keep this face, confirm the operation, and there we go. Save our work. Okay, now we're going to trim our curves a bit. This curve we're going to trim to its intersection with the top cap. Okay, so we'll come into the wireframe tab. We'll do trim, split at point, pick our curve, pick the point, pick it about there. We'll change our entity filter onto edge, specify the segment we want to keep, confirm the operation. There's our trim. Do the same for the bottom side. Middle click. We could have done it in one operation, but I'll split it into 2 here. Pick the curve, the point, and segment. Okay. Now we're going to sweep a rectangle along our curve. We start off by inserting a datum. Let's snap to end point of the curve. Change our entity filter to critical to make sure. Okay, the orientation of our datum plane. Okay, it doesn't seem to be at the end point there. Let's pick that again. Let's snap in there. The orientation, let's flip around our Y angle 180. Confirm the operation. In fact, I might rotate my Z angle a little bit to level it out. Okay, confirm the operation. Middle click, we're going to insert a datum on the bottom end as well. Again, we'll let it snap to the end point of the curve. Okay, now we want to have the same orientation along our curve of the datums, okay, so that our rectangles match up, which means that we need to flip around the X angle 180 degrees, a half turn, so that our datum here, the orientation follows along our curve and matches up here. Confirm the operation. Okay, now I can place some sketches on these. We'll come into our design sketches ring tab. We'll use the ring shank sketches. Okay, we're going to use the rectangle. The reason we'll use the ring shank sketch is because it places the rectangle with the bottom on the curve, like that. Place one at the top and at the bottom. Okay, you can see what I mean by the orientation of the datums now, to ensure that the rectangle is on the top side of the curve. Okay, let's dimension our rectangles. The top, I'm going to set to dimension, set the width, let's say 1 millimeter. Okay, the thickness 0.75. I'm going to delay my solve until I make modifications to my bottom as well. Bottom width 1.25, thickness 0.75 as well. Take off my delay solve, confirm. Okay, so there are our sweeping sketches. Now let's perform a driving curve loft of these sketches along this path. Now if you have a background in Rhino, the drive curve loft is the same as the one rail sweep. Okay, so the drive curve loft, we pick our curve to drive along, so this curve here, our profiles, picking sketches, remember we need to pick them at the same point, the two sketches on the same point, so picking on the lower left hand corner of that sketch, so we pick on the lower left hand corner of this one. There's our sweeping preview. Okay, we'll confirm the operation. Save our work. Okay, I think I want to bring back the shell of my ellipsoid that I erased before. Just check that this is matching up nicely to that shape. So I'll come back, drag the model stop up to my trim. Okay, so I'm going to delete this trim. I'm going to, instead of trimming, I will use the split with curves, not trim to curves. Pick the face, pick the curves, confirm the operation. Okay, so now we have trimmed it, split it. Let's play on through the rest of the history. Okay, there seems to be an issue here. Modify. Okay, we'll have to repick our point, I think, the segments point. Edit the lower one to check that this is okay as well. Okay, so our points have been thrown off here. Unpick last. Confirm. Play our planes. sketches, loft. Okay, so what I'm looking for is I want the lower face to be coincident with the face of my ellipsoid. Okay, so here we have this gap. So what I'm going to do, shape, face offset, I'm going to offset the lower face by a value that will get rid of the gap like that. Let's check for other gaps. Okay, there don't seem to be any. Confirm the operation. Okay, now we'll have a lot of extra material in here. We're going to trim it. Trim this rod shape. Let's trim it to all of these faces because we have a small overlap there. Confirm the operation. Okay, we have trimmed it like that. Okay, now let's erase this again. Save our work. We're going to add a fillet now to the under edges of this rod. Let's set our radius to a more realistic number, say 0.2. Pick our edges. Okay, let's increase this a bit. Say 0.4. Confirm the operation. Okay, now let's shell our top caps. Shell. Let's make them positive 0.75. Do the same for the bottom. Okay, save our work. Okay, now you see here it's not aligning up very nicely. We can always offset this face and trim to our top cap. But what I want to do to show you here is I want to rotate this datum that we had our sketch on, so our loft will operate a bit differently. So if I come back prior to the loft, I move. In fact, I'll come back prior to the sketches as well. I will move this datum plane. I'm going to rotate it out of direction. The direction will be its own y-axis. Now I'm going to rotate it so it lines up a bit more tangentially to our top cap. Confirm the operation. Let's play through the rest of history. Okay, you can see how it is aligned more tangentially to the cap there. Now we will pave our rod. Come into the Pave tab, gems between two curves. Curve A, we're going to be picking the edges. Surface, this surface. Let's give our stones a slight elevation, 0.15. We're going to increase our number. We'll spread the stones as well. Okay, the stone sizes are okay there. They look well spaced. Let's confirm the operation. We'll add in some scaled prongs. Okay, pick the stones, pick them as a feature. Okay, we're going to drop down our overlap. Let's bring it right down, 25%. For manufacture, we want to leave the prongs a bit heavier, but in this case, we're going to bring them down. Bring our height down as well, 0.35. Okay, the distance. Seems to be okay. Let's add in some virtual stones, some end prongs. Okay, it doesn't matter if they're sticking over the edge, we can tie this up later. Confirm the operation. Okay, I might even want to drop down this height a little bit more, just for rendering purposes. Also going to bring down the dome to 0.1 and the height to 0.25. Confirm the operation. Okay, there are our prongs. Let's turn off our JCD datums. Okay, now we will bring in our cutters, Tools and Cutters tab. Let's go for our pilot cutters, pick our stones as the feature again. Elevation, we'll have 0 elevation. Confirm the operation. I'm going to add a tweak. I'm going to reduce the size of the girdle there. Left click to activate the cutters. Tweak, girdle thickness. I'm going to drop it down to 0.01. Okay, an insignificant width there. Avoid dropping it down to 0 because this can cause issues with the cutters. So if you want a 0 girdle thickness, best to just go for 0.01. Okay, we'll confirm the operation. Let's take a look first of all actually. If our cutters are getting a good depth there. Again, they're going plenty deep enough. Might even want to reduce that. The pavilion, let's reduce it to negative 0.5. Okay, we'll confirm the operation here. Let's merge our cutters. Let's hide our melee stones to check out how the cutters have performed. Okay, it seems decent enough. Okay, now we can merge our prongs. Okay, if you wanted a pre-cut on our prongs, you should have merged them prior to merging our cutters. Okay, that seems to have gone okay. Change our color to see if it has all come in. Yep. Okay, I want to fill this gap now. I'm going to offset the face, this face. In fact, I should have done this prior to merging the prongs because they have become part of the shape now. So prior to merging the prongs, I'm going to undo face offset, offset this face. Let's see if the bottom needs it as well. It does. Let's pick it at the same time. Okay, that's enough of an offset. I think we'll offset this cap higher as well at some point. Confirm the operation. Now we will merge our prongs again. Gem settings, merge prongs. pick the feature, pick the base, confirm the operation. Okay, that appears to have gone fine. Save our work. Okay, now we're going to want to pattern this around our caps. Okay, so coming to our shape tab, pattern, circular. Okay, the axis, I'm looking at upside down here. The axis is the Z axis, the direction Z. The base, first of all pick shape, change our entity filter onto component. Now let's window pick our diamonds. Okay, we want to derive spacing. We want to have 4 of these. Okay, we don't want a boolean. You can do this later, confirm the operation. Okay, so now we can see our cage coming together now. Like I said, I'm going to offset this top face a bit. Okay, 0.5 seems fine. I'm going to add in a fillet on this at a later point, or next. I'm just going to offset this bottom face as well. Pick the face. Okay, I might offset it slightly more. You can line it up with the prongs. Confirm the operation. Okay, now let's add that fillet in here. We'll fillet these edges. Okay, I might increase that fillet a bit. We'll fillet the top as well. Confirm. Let's also add a small fillet to the bottom bit here. Let's change it first of all. I'd say 0.15 will be sufficient. Okay, you're noticing that my fillets are coming in grey. This is because we have our face color set to grey, so, or silver I should say. So depending on your face color, that will influence what color our fillets come in, our features come in. So we can always change the color later on, like so. Okay, so this is coming along now. Save the work. Now I'm going to perform another morph point. I want to drag this point up to change the shape of this top cap. Okay, first of all I think I'll right click, show the frozen bar. I'm going to drag my feature frozen down so that our history doesn't have to keep regenerating. It takes a bit of time now that we've got a larger history here. Morph with point, first option along the direction, geometry, top face, point. Let's see if it will snap to the middle with the entities filter set to all. It does. Direction is going to be along the Z by default, which is what we want. Let's give ourselves distance. I'm going to increase this, say 1.5. Okay, we'll play around with our influence a bit. Let's change the step size to 1. Okay. Now we're going to create a jump ring and a pendant bail for the top of our pendant. Save our work. Start off by coming into our Design Sketches Ring tab, Jump Rings. We'll use this jump ring here, place it on our front datum. Let's modify our values. I'm going to drop these down. Confirm the operation. Don't want to tweak. Shape. We'll merge it as a base. Confirm. Now let's move. Move it with the handle. Let's drag it up. Okay, confirm the operation. Change the color. Okay, now let's add in a pendant bail. Back in the design, sketches and ring tab, you have our pendant bails command. Left click, I'm going to pick a pendant bail. Let's use this one. Place it at a point. Find the orientation that you want. Okay, I want to place it like this. Obviously we're going to have to decrease the size of this pendant bail. Now keep in mind that the order in which we make modifications to our parameters is important, because we may not be able to change one parameter prior to changing another. Okay, and also if you want to make significant changes to the dimensions, it's best to do it in incremental steps so as we don't throw off the component. Okay, so let's bring down, first of all, our top width. Let's drop this right down. We'll do the same for our bottom width. Okay, let's now change the thickness. Okay, top thickness. Let's reduce it to 1. Bottom thickness, that's fine at 0.75. Bottom diameter for the chain, so this diameter here, we need it to be at least 0.75 because this is the diameter of our jump ring. Let's just set it to be 1. Okay, the top diameter for chain, we are going to have a chain pass through here. This is the top diameter here. We'll bring it down, we're not going to have a chain that large. Let's say 1.75. Okay, now we can change our top height to reduce the length of this. Top height, bring it down to 1. Bottom height, 0.75. Okay, so this is a more realistic size now for a jump ring for this particular piece. Okay, we'll confirm the operation there. Don't want to tweak. Shape, we'll merge it as a base. Move. Set our entity filter onto shape. Move it up into precision. Okay, that seems decent. Change our color to silver. Save our work. Okay, now let's create our sphere with a spherical pave. Let's drag our feature frozen down again to lock it all in. Okay, shape, sphere. Let's place it at the origin. Radius, let's see what we can fit in there. Okay, let's say 4.5. Confirm the operation. Maybe we might want to move it down slightly. Okay, this ball, we'll pave it, it's going to remain free within there, it's not going to be secured to our cage in any way. If this were to be manufactured, these cage bars would be soldered in place after placing the sphere in there. Okay, let's blank out this sphere. We're going to swap entity visibility, and we can work on our sphere in here without the distractions of the other parts of our design. Let's straight away come to a Pave, spherical patterns, pick the sphere, let's increase our tri-divide, see what we like. Give our stones an elevation. Okay, I'm not going to play around too much in here. Confirm the operation. Okay, that seems fine. Prongs, cutters, we'll do this quickly. Let's use Pave prongs. Pick the stones as a feature. Okay, the overlap, let's drop it down just to 15 to make our prongs smaller. Prong height 0.35 or even 0.3. Okay, this will do for now. We are just rendering this piece. We'll throw in our cutters. Let's use our elliptical cutters. Pick the feature, stones as a feature. I'm just going to go ahead and confirm the operation. No tweak. We will merge our cutters with our base. You can just see it in there, confirm the operation. Okay, let's check them out. Okay, they go pretty deep there. Let's see if our prongs will merge nicely. There's a chance they may not. We have potential for many coincident faces here. Now, if we were to manufacture this Pave sphere, you may want to manufacture it in two halves, so you can hollow it out. You can have a shell, reduce your metal weight. You could solder the two halves together. Alternatively, you might want to drill down, deepen these cutter holes to reduce the amount of metal weight. Let's try and merge our prongs. Okay, if this doesn't work, maybe we'll merge our prongs prior to merging the cutters. Okay, so that has failed. Let's exit out of our merge prongs. Okay, so we could try merging our prongs prior to the cutters. That might get rid of some of the coincident faces. If this fails, we know how to approach the problem. We have to merge our components as a base. Okay, and then try and combine add in smaller groups to find the problem prongs. Okay, I'm not going to do this right now because it will take up time. So I'm going to leave it as is. Pick the whole thing as a shape, change the color. I'm going to bring back my mealy stones. Okay, we'll pick it all and blank it back out into the other environment. Okay, it didn't blank the shapes. Let's swap entity visibility. Here we are back in our main design. Okay, it's pretty much finished. Let's hide these datums, blank or even erase these datums. Okay, finally I'm going to insert a sketch on my side datum plane. I'm going to create a 3-point curve. Let's just reference the shape. Reference the inside face as well. Okay, we're going to produce a quick point curve. In fact, let's use a 3-point conic curve. Start point, end point, bring it through here. Okay, we could pick this more precisely, but I'm not going to bother. Exit back out into our part level, and now we can use our chain tool. Save our work. Design sketches ring, chain tool. Okay, let's pick our curve. Let's pick our links. Let's just use the basic link. Here we need a rotation. Okay, now this chain is far too big. The width ratio should make it smaller. Okay, the width ratio isn't working, but we have got a different approach that we can take to decrease the size of our chain. Come into our shape. Let's first of all erase these links of our chain. Okay, this is a good opportunity actually to showcase one of our pattern tools. Let's first of all scale. In fact, we'll merge these components as a base, scale them both uniformly. The center of the scale, let's lock it to this end point of the curve. Okay, step size 0.01. Scale them to reduce their size. Okay, that is probably sufficient. Now we're going to use a pattern tool. We're going to pattern at curves. The base, take the 2 links. The boundary, this is our curve. Okay, you can see it is now patterning our shapes along this curve. Let's increase our number. Okay, something like that. Confirm. Now erase the curve. In fact, it was a sketch, wasn't it? We'll just blank it out. Okay, and there you go. Let's window pick the shapes. Save. Okay, you might want to make that chain longer, in which case just go into that previous sketch and increase the size. Okay, so this is our cage pendant completed.